Autumn Nation Series, France and Georgia. It's 41 points to 15. It's a pretty comfortable win for the French in the end. I don't think either side's going to be all that happy with this one. I had kind of vibes about the Wales and Fiji game, which I actually watched before I watched this game because the broadcaster in New Zealand had the listings all mucked up. But I did see the game. We'll go through some key moments, some key stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. Interestingly, alternate jerseys again for the home side. So Scotland, Wales, France, all alternate jerseys this weekend. Great crowd in this game. Honestly, musical, loud, great vibe coming from the stadium. I could feel it all the way from my living room here in New Zealand. So that was fantastic to see. And cracking start from the French early, man. Pinot almost scored. Line-up move, went out to him on the wing. Kicked through, almost regathered it, but just knocked it on in the in-goal area. So good scramble from the Georgians to put the pressure on. But, man, that was close early stuff. France putting heaps of kicks through early. I feel like it was maybe to keep the Georgian wide defenders maybe hanging back a little bit out of the defensive line because France were putting a lot of kicks through early. Fiku was crashing a lot of ball. So kind of these seeds that they were planting early to maybe try and get them a bit of payoff later, it felt like anyway, because it seemed very, very deliberate. But still no score early, and France missed their first penalty as they were trying to keep the tempo up. Georgia penalised for not retreating back 10 when France took a quick tap. But they did get the second one. Germany got one in about 8 minutes to make it 3-0. It was a breakdown penalty. France's defence was kind of tested the first time, within the first 10 minutes. And Intermac and Aldrit did really well to hold up one of the Georgian ball carriers to get a maul turnover. That maul turnover led to a scrum penalty for France. So really kind of psychological boosts for the home side, it felt like. And Georgia were maybe looking a little bit rusty early on, which is to be expected because they haven't had a heck of a lot of game time. As France do turn the screws, Georgia end up getting yellow carded with a deliberate knock-on to their fly half. Abjan Adza, is that the one? Yes, that's him. I get the names confused sometimes. I'm still learning. But yeah, there was a couple of infringements in the build-up. To be fair, there was a high tackle, another deliberate knock-on, but there's one penalised, one yellow carded, so it's 15 on 14. They did try a nice, pretty slick line-up move that sent Aldrit steaming over the line. Did France with the extra man, but Georgian defence scrambled pretty well to hold him up. Goal line dropout goes. And then this Autumn Nation Series just keeps producing weird moments. Makalu, with nobody around him, just drops a straight forward pass. It's the most bizarre pass you'll see from a professional rugby player with no pressure on him. So Georgia are suddenly out of jail. It was very, very, very strange. And then ended up with Georgia actually a few minutes later kicking a penalty during the yellow card. So 3 points apiece. Time eaten up, and happy days for the Georgians at that point. France, though, during the yellow card, when they got their next penalty, they went for touch. The crowd loved it. They were roaring for their French team to really kind of get in on the Georgians. They mauled it this time. It was messy, but it ended in a penalty try, and it's a second yellow card for the Georgians. This time it was Saganadze, the loose forward. So it's 15 on 13 at that point. And it's 10 points to 3 because of the penalty try, which I wrote down late, but it is on the whiteboard. France went for the corner again on 25 minutes. But Georgia, I think, managed to get the ball, had a decent but not great exit. They were still kind of under a lot of pressure. They got a yellow card warning. The captain, Sharakadze, said, I know we're a small team, but you got to give us some penalties too to the ref. But the ref wasn't really having a bar of that. Maybe it planted a seed on the ref. Not sure. But, he basically said, the ref basically said, if you stay within the laws, I won't penalise you or something to that effect. So, that was an interesting moment. But the Georgian defence was really good scramble. They managed to hold the French out, which was impressive because, the French attack, it's got a lot of good attacking playmakers in it. But then they lost their own line out in their own 22. And that leads to Jalibert's try on 31 minutes. Woki with the line out steal. The French react well to get it to the Jalibert. A couple of passes out wide, and boom, he goes over. So it's suddenly 17 points to 3. Peno kind of doubles down to make bad go to worse for the Georgians, or to really get the crowd into the game for the French. This time he does get it because he'd gone close earlier, like I mentioned. It's a close range scrum, and Fiku, who's been doing crash ball, Did I mention that earlier? He's been doing crash ball maybe 2 or 3 times. Every time he's had the ball, he's not looked like passing. He's just crashed it up. This time, he does not crash the ball up. This time, he puts the inside ball to Pinot, who just goes straight over. So, yeah, another one of those ones where you plant the seed early. How many times have I said plant the seed? And hopefully it kind of pays off for you later. So it seemed to do that. 24 points to 3. Georgia did win a scrum penalty on their own line right before halftime for a bit of a boost. They didn't kick it out to end the half. They tried to get upfield, but it ended up a bit messy, and we still went into halftime at 24 points to 3. Second half, Georgia almost managed to punish France, who did make a few mistakes. I think it was Jalibert who kicked it out on the full. He must have not heard the call that he was... the ball had come back from outside the 22, and he kicks it out on the full, so it gives Georgia a good chance, but their maul gets held up. But a few minutes later, the halfback, Lobjanidze, does get a nice try. A good halfback's try where he dummies a prop. He dummied Bumba, who'd come on. Totally sold it to him. The crowd didn't like it. I think one angle looked like he'd been held up, but the ball did hit the ground on the initial dive over, I think. So, yeah, 24 points to 10. Good play from the Georgians to start the second half. France, though, they pretty much hit straight back. It maybe fired them up a bit. That one was a great take from Makalu in the air. That just led to a maul try. It was Molvaka who got the try because Marchand had gone off pretty much at the end of the first half with what looked like a rib injury. So he was looking pretty uncomfortable. And those things can take ages to recover from. So hopefully he's all right, but we'll wait and see. So it's 31-10. Georgia did have a decent period of pressure in the second half. Like the second half, they definitely look a better team, especially ball in hand compared to the first half. They had a big maul go close. They had like half the team, more than half the team in the maul. 3/4 of the team in the maul. They had gone close, but nothing doing. And eventually they had a close range scrum, which was one of the nicest tries of the game. The winger, Tabutadze, I thought they'd mucked it up because they spun it 3 passes wide. And I thought the pass to Tabutadze, he kind of had to wait and maybe take it a little bit behind him. But he still managed to get that lack of momentum and shoot off for the corner and managed to get it done. It was a hell of a try. Interestingly, though, maybe it is that small country thing where they don't get the small team thing where they don't get the subconscious advantage from the ref because the ref goes on field no try. I think any rugby fan, at least from our angle on the TV, looks at that one and goes, that's probably a try, but let's check for a foot in touch or something like that. It didn't look like not a try, but I guess the ref and the assistant referees didn't have any sighting of the ball being grounded. So he went for on-field no try, so putting the burden to prove that it was a try on the TMO, but it was clearly a try. It was a great finish. So, 31-15. But you know how some tries look like a try on first glance? This was one of those, I thought. Some don't look like tries and they prove to be miracles, and some look like clear tries but aren't. But yeah, to me, this one, first glance, looked like a try. But I have the advantage of looking at it from a TV on a high angle, not like the ref who's at ground level. So that was a good one. 31-15 is looking like a pretty decent scoreline for Georgia, right? If they can finish with that kind of scoreline, that's very competitive. Definitely hold your heads high. But the final 10 minutes, the French have been making a few mistakes, and despite the fact that the rain comes down, their passes start to stick, and it leads to a couple of tries. One to Pinot in the corner to make it 36-15, and then another maul try at the death. So that takes those both unconverted tries. But this doesn't quite look as good, does it, for Georgia? But it looks a bit better for France, 41-15. That looks like, a bit of a hiding, whereas 31-15 looks like a comfortable but still kind of close match. So those 2 tries at the end, just blow the score line out just that little bit. But interesting game. I don't think, as I said, either side will be happy with it. Georgia would have liked to maybe been a bit sharper in the first half. Would have certainly liked to keep 15 guys on the field for the whole game. And France, as I said, maybe made a few errors, a few passes that just didn't stick, like Makalu's one that was just randomly forward, that kind of stuff. They'll want to sharpen that kind of stuff up for next week for sure. Run meters 319 to 266, not too lopsided, but clean breaks is 9-2, and that is to France. Defenders beaten 24-16 to France. Georgia have to make more tackles, 115 to 81. Penalty count is where it really costs Georgia, 18 to 7. Yellow cards 2 to 0. So it's the discipline. Both lineouts pretty solid. France were 19 from 19, but Georgia at times were pretty happy not to contest, actually. And yeah, France are pretty good at the old lineup disruption, but only managed the one steal. But the one steal did lead directly to a try. So yeah, good reactions. Interestingly, France, they mauled it a lot more than normal. Mauls was 8 to 2. So it's not in Gaultier's time. I don't think it's been a huge kind of tactic of the team to really go to the maul. They prefer the set moves, like the one where Aldrit went over and got held up. But yeah, it was getting some pay, didn't it? They got 2 tries, so why wouldn't you do it? Man of the match, Pinot, 49 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 2 defenders beaten. Pretty solid shift. Aldrit, 10 from 10 tackles. Makalu, 11 line-out wins, so he was phenomenal in there. Some of those ones were fingertip stuff, but he's very good in the air, isn't he? For Georgia, the loose forwards were kind of relatively well contained, ball in hand, but the backs did get a bit of ball. Todua and the try scorer Tabutaza, when he scored his try, took it really well. But it was the fullback Niniashvili, the young man. He's the one who kind of looks the most dangerous. He beat, I think, 5 defenders. Beats 5 defenders. The team has 16, so that kind of shows you how effective he was. The lock, Kardiko Adza, 13 from 15 tackles, 4 line-out wins. So, yeah, solid shift from him. But, yeah, there you go, 41-15. Looks pretty comfortable in the end. I still think Georgia put in a good shift. And I think they'll probably want to be a bit sharper against, I think it's Fiji they're playing next week in Madrid. Both sides will be pretty hungry for that one. And France have got the All Blacks, so both sides will be looking to raise their game after last week. The All Blacks will be pretty mad about losing. They don't want to lose 2 in a row. But France will want to be just that touch sharper against the AB. So there you go. You guys let me know your thoughts, key events, and any controversial moments, best players, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.